Welcome, Hallie with Handmade by Hallie here. Here's my next video. We'll need this large wood round from Walmart, this vinyl from Dollar Tree, these napkins from Hobby Lobby, and I've got some ribbon, some from my stash and some from Amazon. Then we will also need Mod Podge and some black acrylic paint, some Waverly chalk paint in yellow and in ivory. We will replace the hanging wire with this from the Dollar Tree and use these little yellow daisies from Michael's, some lemons from Hobby Lobby, and some greens from my stash. Next, we will turn it over and take everything off the back. This is a little bit tricky and I end up having to sand it a bit, but we eventually get this plastic piece off and the staples and the hanging twine that's on here. But we get it done and can move on to the fun stuff. So I'm going to do 2 coats of this Waverly ivory paint. And I do have to make sure to spend some time getting around each of the little round half balls around the outside, which is a nice detail. And I do have to go back in with a smaller paintbrush to make sure to even out the paint and make sure there's not too much. Make sure to paint around the side of this as well. And again, I do go in and do 2 coats on everything. This ends up being a really good base for our project. Next, we are going to get out some smaller paintbrushes and this vinyl that says hello, and I'm going to mark everywhere I'm going to do my yellow. This is going to start our pattern. And then with this smaller paintbrush, I'm going to paint every third one yellow, being careful and trying not to get any of that yellow on the little half balls next to it. I do have to go in and do a little touch up, but if you just do this carefully, you don't have to do a lot of touch up. Next, we're going to go in and do some black. And the black goes right next to the yellow. So we have the ivory, the black, and the yellow is our pattern. And this ends up looking really nice, I believe. This is going to be a good tie-in with all the different things we're going to put on this wall hanging or door hanging. Just be careful, or you have to do lots of touch-up. So now that we have all of our painting done, we are going to mark where we're going to put our paper and our vinyl. We're going to sand the surface lightly and brush off the excess with a paintbrush, leaving enough room for that welcome vinyl to go on the top where it's not going to be painted. Then I'm going to get my vinyl out here and generally measure and mark with my scissors how wide of a piece I need and set that aside. I'm going to get out my napkins and my Mod Podge. So I'm going to put a good coat of Mod Podge underneath that pencil line I've drawn and make sure to cover that really well. And we will push this aside and wait for that to dry. And I'm going to pull out some painter's tape and pull apart the napkins so I just get the top piece. Then I'm going to iron this lightly with my little iron. I'm going to do that and make sure it doesn't stick to my surface. Then I need to match my pattern, so I'm going to pull this a couple times, turn until I get those matched up. And looks like I've got it pretty well there. Maybe. Let's see. Is it matched? Nope. One more turn. There we go. Pretty well. So I'm going to get this matched and lined up the way I want it to be. We're going to overlap just a little bit, and I'm going to put the left side over the top of the right side, and I'm going to grab a piece of tape to hold that together at the top and a piece of tape at the bottom. I'm going to use a piece of parchment paper to trace the pattern of the circle with my pencil. Then I'm going to cut this out. We're going to use this on our napkin to cut out the pattern to go inside of our circle. And we're going to pin this on just like we pin onto a fabric when we're cutting fabric out. And then we're going to cut this out. We want to make sure to cut it nice and smoothly, leaving no rough and raw edges. Staying as close to this half circle pattern as we can and adjusting where we need to. And then we're going to take the pins out and put those away, except for the two pins that are holding our two pieces together. We're going to leave those in until we're done ironing this. So we put it in place and grab a full piece of parchment paper and press and hold the iron until we've ironed everything. And I take those pins out and keep ironing till the napkin is all adhered to the round. And you want to go slow and want to make sure that it's melted all that Mod Podge and made it stick. Now we can cut our vinyl, and I want that to be 4 squares wide. So I'm going to use my ruler and my rotary cutter and my scissors a little bit. Then we're going to cut our edges to make it fit. So mark it with a pencil and cut, and then do the same on the other side. Continuing to check to make that hello will fit in our space. Then I want to do a medium coat of Mod Podge on top of the napkin and let that dry before I put my vinyl on. And then we'll be ready for our next step. Now that that's dry, we will take the backing off our vinyl and adjust this one side a couple times. Get it all pressed in place, and take a piece of contact type paper to pick up this hello vinyl piece and peel that up and put it in place. Press firmly with the tool and pull at a real good angle to make sure to stick that and keep our extras. Now we're going to make a bow. And I'm going to start with the black and leave some tails and make the loops about 5 inches long. 2 loops of the black, and then tails and 2 loops of the lemon. And then I decide I want to switch out this brown and plaid ribbon to just this plaid ribbon. So we're going to do 1 loop and tails for this plaid ribbon, and I use a zip tie to tighten and hold my ribbon together for the bow, and cut that off and fluff it up a little bit. And I decided I needed to get a piece of styrofoam, so I grabbed an extra piece I had from gaps and cracks that I put for another project and trim that up, put some hot glue and some adhesive all and stick that down. And then I take an extra piece of green from a stem and put a pick into my ribbon or my bow so I can put that into the styrofoam. And then I decided it's time to trim our tails. Now that we have it on our project, I can see how long we want them to be. And then I'm going to get out the rest of my materials. I'm going to get out my flowers and my lemons, and then our greens and I'm kind of testing out where I want the greens, and I decided we needed to cover our styrofoam with some moss. So we're gonna take this bunch of moss and kind of wrap it around, and I use some little tiny jewelry pins to hold that in place. And then we start putting our greens in, and I put hot glue on the ends to make sure they'll stay in place. And putting that little bit of styrofoam gives it just enough full room to put all the ends of these little picks into the styrofoam to hold it all together. So I've got the greens in, and I'm adjusting the flowers. The flowers, you can push some of the pieces together. And then I'm taking some extra of the green stems that I've got and pushing them into the lemons, and then adding some glue on the outside and making those so that they have a stem. If you are liking this project, would you please do all the things? Would you like and comment and subscribe and share? I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. So we're just going to layer our lemons and our little white flowers in both sides and between on the bottom, and then a little bit on the top. I do go through and remove a little bit of the greens that's on the top because we want to be able to see the hello really well. I think I cut off one leaf there. I did put a lemon in up closer to the bow and put the flowers in, and I do go in and kind of pin those flowers down a little bit so you can see the hello really well. But I'm pretty pleased with the way this one's coming out. Now this hanger that I'm putting on, I do go back and put in a shorter hanger, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute. So you're gonna kind of make a loop, put some glue down and some extra ribbon. So you see here in the picture of the finished project, I do make a shorter hanger and adjust everything. I decided I didn't want a lemon in the middle, and there we go. There's our project all finished. You can see a little bit of everything, and I'm really pleased with the way this one went. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you again soon. Don't forget, my projects are now sold on Etsy. Find a link in the bio. See you again.